Hello there everyone, and welcome to my Aang Stuck on Repeat primer. I'm excited to share with all of you the findings I've made to this date and what I will be finding in the future. My primer is really long. I think at this stage it's like 46 pages or something, so I guess let's hop right into it. The decklist itself, as you can see, uh, consists of mostly creatures, has other stuff in there as well, notably stickers for tournament purposes, and a sideboard which you can refer to as I'm evolving the deck. The primer itself has my first video, which you maybe have seen, I don't know, where I talk about Aang, and I think I made the video like 2 weeks ago or something. But since then, I've made new discoveries, I've polished the list a lot, and a lot of writing has happened. So, in the primer, you'll find these categories: the deck, the philosophy, why play Aang, the worst happened, now what, glossary, cards that you should run, how do I win, what to prioritize during Aang flips, mulligans, play environment adaptation, the end, and finally the Discord link to the Aang Discord. Just to give you guys a brief glance over, I have posted the deck as the pictures. Notably here I'm still missing cream of the crop, but it will soon be here. The philosophy, so this deck pretty much began after the European champs, and I was looking for new stuff to brew, and I found Aang, and I thought Aang was very, very interesting. A list that can kind of abolish the general things that cEDH would usually have in it, and you would have this kind of a complex Gaia-Ruda / Etali kind of an effect, which is probability based, but also how to work around that and how to make it as consistent as possible. The lists that were played in tournaments didn't really have those things that I valued in Aang, and I thought there was a lot of stuff to work on and new discoveries to be made. So with this in mind, exploration started, and since then there's been like 1,000 messages in the decklist channel where I've talked about this list on the Aang Discord, as well as countless hours of brewing. For example, just yesterday I think I used like 6 hours to think through some cream of the crop lines, because you'll later find out why, but yeah. This list is super interesting. You don't play spells, you just cast Aang, and then you try to win. So, better colors than Etali, better win conditions, and less of a mana to cast. I cover why you should play Aang in a very compact shell, same things that I just mentioned. What to do if you end up in scenarios that are bad for you, for example, stacked out board states. Short answer is just play your clones, clone whatever's good on the field, and develop from there. Try to find a window to win, or, just grind it out. I have a brief glossary on like terms I use in the primer. For example, what is a clone, what is a doubler, flicker creatures, legendary clones. A term I use across this primer is also chain continuer, which means basically the clones and the flicker effects. Things that let you get more Aang triggers, so to speak. Cards that you should run. This section is big, and I'm going to build it as it goes, but in a very, very compact shell. For each card, I cover what the card does. I have made these recorded videos where you can see how to actually use the card, and just kind of showcase how to go about different things. Oh, I need to fix this. Apparently there's a... doesn't matter. Just a space break, I think. I've made these GIFs for pretty much everything, and you can see how to use those effects. These are just the short... This is like just the surface level for the icebergs, but as we go about things, for example, Renegade Doppelganger, there's a lot of stuff this card does, and it does it in a very, very convoluted way, so I've tried to keep it simple and easy to comprehend. Same goes for the other cards, then just simple sections for effects that are good but don't need any explanations. And then finally, what kind of went overboard? Welcome to the probability math. These things are kind of convoluted without cream of the crop, and for example, with cream of the crop. And what happens there? Well, turns out you can stack your deck with cream of the crop and 2 flicker creatures by alternating between the two. Now, how do you stack your deck? Well, then I have made these subsections. The failsafe is that you always put triggers underneath that if something goes south, you can still stack your deck and then your turn. Then there's also the basic form, and this is just the basic. So as you can see, this is what you want to end with, and these are the steps to get there. Simple, right? Then if you don't expect interaction, you do this. What if you expect a red elemental blast or pyroblast? Then your piles should look like this, where you have different options to pivot to, and these are foolproof piles. If your opponent has a single red blast or a pyroblast, whatever the window is where they would use it, you will have a win to put on the stack, so you just win. If you have grave hate expected, then you have this thing, and whatever the window is that they use their grave hate on, you could still adapt to the situation. And if you expect the brain freeze to get milled, then technically this would enter the territory where you need to figure out the storm count and then go from there. Maybe I'll do some examples here later, but yeah, you'll see. And also, welcome to my favorite section, aside from the cream of the crop, Lonis Psychosis. Lonis is a value creature in the deck. Basically, you have Aangs and clones entering blah blah blah, then you make clues, and then you tap Lonis and you can find value, maybe a clone, maybe an effect that lets you win, who knows. What if you have infinite clues and Lonis is active, but you don't have any extra Aang triggers? So say, what do you do then? I've included the most played lists here, and for each list, I've included the cards that let you win outright, things that are highly likely to win, and just scenario-dependent high-value things. Most of these are kind of straightforward. Obviously, these took a lot of time to go through and figure out what you can win. But cEDH notably has a lot of lines for cEDH itself, but also because of the varying cEDH builds, like Chain Tutor cEDHs and Chowder cEDHs and stuff, and new legends being printed, which change things. You have different kinds of lines that you can go for depending on what creatures or planeswalkers you see during the chain. And enchantments because of Teferi. Oath of Teferi. The Oath of Teferi, rather. This is just a lot of information, probably expanding it at some point. A section where you know how to win. Main phase is simple because of Badger Mole, but you need to do some stuff to have enough lands, because you need to clone your lands that are originally Earthbent, have the clone enter as that Earthbent land, and now it's not Earthbent anymore, but then you flicker Badger Mole, then you get those into infinite power, toughness, and haste. Lonis as an outlet, Cephalid Coliseum as an outlet, so there is an instant speed way to win the game. Also, if your opponent has the One Ring protection, you can win in their upkeep with this by making infinite Cephalid Coliseums that have haste. This is some weird stuff, but you'll get there. A section on what to prioritize during Aang flips. So here, generally I've covered what kind of different effects there are, how they factor into the chains, and how you should go about them to have the maximum probabilities of winning from a single Aang trigger outright. Mulligans, I've included some sample hands which you can go through, and I have explanations underneath, which you can then see for yourself if I agree with the choice that you made or not, and how you would go about playing the hand. Play environment adaptation, for example, if you're playing against turbo decks, what should you do? If you're playing against grindy decks, what should you do or shouldn't do, and that kind of stuff. Finally, the end, just the thanks and the Discord link. So, I guess this pretty much covers what I wanted to say in this small video. I'm happy you've given this list a glimpse. I suggest you watch the 1.5 hour video where I talk about Aang and just like share my thoughts. It is a little outdated now though, because there's been new discoveries, but still it kind of showcases on what I think Aang should look like and why it should look like that. I hope you enjoy your stay here. Do press the like button on Moxfield. I have put so much effort into this, so I value that highly. Hop on the Discord and message me, and message on Moxfield as well. I'm happy to talk about the card inclusions and different kind of things you can do, and just evolve the list overall. Enjoy your stay and have a happy time reading.